We're closing out week 5 with another, shall we say, interesting Chiefs primetime game. Based on early results, though, this game is looking like it'll be a far closer matchup than analysts likely would have expected before the season started. Can the Jaguars defend their home turf, or will the Chiefs finish the week strong? We'll see in the simulation, but first, let's get behind the bar and make our drink a tropical Caribou.
Well, I suppose it's better than the last Kansas City primetime game we had. I can say, however, though, that next week's Kansas City game against the Lions is going to be much better. Jacksonville fans, this is your one and only primetime game, so hopefully you don't feel like I did you too dirty. Honestly, I am very glad that the Jaguars only have one primetime game this season, because coming up with drinks for Jacksonville was surprisingly difficult. Based on the summer I spent down there, I was kind of tempted to make your guys' drink just the Four Loko, because I think that kind of sums up the energy. But thankfully, I am not the first person on the internet to make cocktails for every NFL team. So for the Jaguars, I'm instead leaning on the work of those who came before me and making a drink that they found, the Jaguar. So a bit of a two-part origin for this drink. The drink itself comes to us courtesy of Cowford Chop House, which is a fancy steakhouse about a mile from the Jaguar Stadium. However, it's highly unlikely I would have ever found this drink in my research if it weren't for the work of Bruce's Bitters, who actually has a series on YouTube making cocktails for every NFL team. While I was desperately digging for something to do for Jacksonville, I came across his Reddit post with this drink's recipes, which honestly really saved my ass. Now, it's worth mentioning that Bruce's drink is a bit of a riff on the Chop House's Jaguar, adding blue Curacao to get that distinct Jaguar teal. At the end of the day, this drink is firmly in the tiki tradition, featuring a split rum base, lime juice, pineapple juice, passion fruit syrup, and blue Curacao, though he did decide to serve it up in a coupe, which is pretty rare for tiki drinks. So, Jags fans, I hope you accept this drink as your team's representative. Honestly, it's got the team colors, it's got the team name, it's from a local restaurant. I don't think you can get much better. Now, as I mentioned back in week 3, KC has an obscene amount of primetime games, so I'm honestly taking whatever I can in terms of drinks for them. This week's representative is a bit of a blast from the past for me, not because I've ever had it before, but because it comes from a song that I used to listen to back in middle school, I think? And that song/drink is the Caribou Lou. The Caribou Lou is a drink created by Kansas City rapper Tech9, and he generously gives us the recipe in the song Caribou Lou. Quote, half a bottle of 151 off in a jug, 1 cup of Malibu rum, baby that's what's up, then you fill the rest of the mug with pineapple juice. Now, others have put together actual measurements for this drink, but for me, that really feels honestly besides the point. This is a party drink, it's like a jungle juice. If you're carefully measuring out all your ingredients for it, you're making it wrong. So there you have it. We've got a tiki-coated drink from Jacksonville and a rum and pineapple mixed drink from Kansas City. Pretty easy mashup there, honestly. The one big change, there's two actually big changes that I'm making to this drink. Number 1 is replacing the Bacardi 151 with this OFTD overproof rum. I was probably going to do this anyways, just because I didn't want to, again, have to go out and buy a brand new bottle just for this drink when I've got something similar. But Bacardi actually forced my hand on this one. They discontinued 151 rum back in 2016, probably because people kept lighting themselves on fire with it and then suing Bacardi. They just kind of got tired of that. So this will be our high proof rum instead. The other big change is using this Malibu passion fruit liqueur and rum bottle instead of the passion fruit syrup from the Jaguar. This one is purely out of laziness. I want to get rid of this bottle, and I'm too busy to make passion fruit syrup, so we are going to be using it in place. It's also going to make this drink extra boozy, so that'll be an interesting time. We'll see if that works out. So, final spec for this drink. Starting off with a pretty decent pour of our overproof rum, where you're going to start with an ounce of this. In case you missed the, Buccaneers versus Falcons game, I think, where I went through all the rums. This is 69%, so this is pretty punchy stuff. Next up, our traditional Malibu coconut rum. Going to do a half-ounce pour of this, just staying true to the original Caribou Lou recipe right there, as well as, this being a tiki drink, it's going to have a lot of different flavors in it, so adding them in where we can. Next up, lime juice, half an ounce of that right here. So we are really counting on both the lime juice and the pineapple juice to kind of balance out all of the sweetness and all of the booze that we are dumping into this drink. So again, this is my first time making it. I do not know if I will be successful in that regard. 2 ounces of our pineapple juice. So again, obviously a lot of this because this is pretty much the body for the drink. This is what's going to be fighting against all of the booze in here. All right, and then for the passion fruit Malibu, going to do a half ounce of that as well. This is really good stuff. I just never have a use for it. There's one drink that I made a while back called the Sanji Sour from the One Piece live action. Very good drink. I would recommend making it, but I just don't make it anywhere near enough to use up that bottle, so it just sits in my bar constantly. Then finally, our last ingredient, mostly for color, but also a little bit for flavor, 3/4 of an ounce of our blue Curacao. Oh, that looks like we've got a teal in there, so I think we may have accomplished the color that we were going for. All right, going to shake that all up. All right, crack it open. And then I realized when I was making this, I wanted to initially do it in a coupe, kind of like the Jaguar Rift was, but I realized there's too much liquid in this damn drink to do it in a coupe. So instead we are turning to Old Faithful, that is a color, holy fuck, Martini Glass. What the fuck is this gonna taste like? I'm legitimately scared now. We got that nice little head on it from the pineapple juice. That's always fun, always love that. All right, so this is our tropical Caribou. What colors unknown to man. What the fuck? All right, let's see how it is. Ooh. Okay. Lot to process there, but not bad. I think I need an additional sip before I say anything on this. There's a lot going on here. Hold on. Okay. So predictably, it is a bit sweet. It's definitely on the sweeter side. I think a lot of that is due to the blue Curacao. I think maybe pulling that back to a half ounce could better balance this out. But the flavor mix is very interesting. The OFTD rum does punch through. Not so much on flavor, more so on bite. Like the drink doesn't feel too syrupy, right? It sort of cuts through and gives almost a dryness to it that's sort of counteracting a lot of the sugar in there. The passion fruit comes through a little bit as well. Yeah, the passion fruit actually does a really good job at standing up for itself. I think that's sort of like one of the main notes you're getting off of this. Obviously the pineapple is quite strong as well. You're getting a lot of that sort of like tiki experience that you like, where it is like, ooh, this is, sweet and sour, and there's sort of a bunch of different flavors coming on. And they don't sort of become one note, right? They don't homogenize into like a single experience. They do retain that sort of push and pull to it. This drink is a lot. There's a lot to unpack in this drink, and I'm not entirely certain I like it. Like, I don't think I would order it a second time, But I think if I ordered it initially as a like, I'm curious, I'm gonna try it, I think this is rewarding my curiosity. I definitely think there's probably a better version of this drink. But it's not bad. Well, a very strange drink for what hopefully is an interesting matchup. Let's find out now in the simulation.
All right, kicking off this Monday night matchup, Kansas City gets the ball first and returns it to their own 24-yard line. The Chiefs' offense gets off to a very strong start as this play-action pass finds its way right back to Pacheco, who takes it 22 yards down to the 3-yard line. On the very next play, the defenders bite on the QB read, and Mahomes just takes this one in untouched for the opening score. On the Jaguars' opening possession, they make it all the way down to the 8-yard line, but the Chiefs bring pressure on third down and sack Lawrence, pushing him back to the 15-yard line where they settle for the field goal. Halfway through the second quarter, Kansas City facing a 3rd and 10. With a clean pocket, Mahomes takes a deep shot, which falls incomplete, and the following KC field goal pushes this back to a 7-point lead. The Chiefs' defense shuts out the Jags' offense, and with the ball back, Mahomes hits Hollywood Brown on a speed out, who beats his defender and yeets himself downfield, taking it 53 yards for a touchdown. Now, the Jaguars do move the ball well and manage to get within field goal range, settling in to attempt a 37-yarder. Unfortunately for them, the Chiefs punch straight through the line and block the field goal, maintaining their 17-3 lead at the half. Halfway through the third quarter, it's 3rd down and the Jags only need 10 yards for the first, but of course this is Madden, so Lawrence loads up and goes for a back corner touchdown, which of course gets broken up, so Jacksonville settles for 3 again. The next possession for the Chiefs features some classic Patrick Mahomes devil magic as he takes off on an 18-yard scramble, gets hit by multiple defenders, and yet it's the Jaguars defender who gets injured. 2 plays later, a well-executed screen to Pacheco pays off the drive with a touchdown, putting the Chiefs up 3 scores. The Jags' offense is pretty much non-existent for the fourth quarter. Chiefs get the ball back and make it all the way down to Jacksonville's 2-yard line before their defense finally bows up and gets a 3rd down sack. The Chiefs' following field goal extends their lead to a clean 21 points. Down an insurmountable 3 scores with just over a minute left in the fourth, the Jaguars finally score their first touchdown, hitting Brenton Strange over the middle of the field. In a sad move, they do go for the onside kick, but thankfully the Chiefs recover it easily, putting them out of their misery for a 27-13 victory. I know the Chiefs this year haven't been the Chiefs that we've grown used to, but I would legitimately be surprised if they lose to this Jaguars team, which has looked solid but uninspiring. Both of these quarterbacks had good games, no interceptions here, both clearing 200 passing yards. Trevor Lawrence's performance was definitely helped out by that garbage time drive and touchdown, but at the end of the day, it was a clean performance and the numbers look good. The same cannot be said of the running backs, who had uniquely awful days. I don't think I need to explain how bad 10 carries for -7 yards is. It's one thing to have negative rushing yards. It's a whole other thing to have negative rushing yards after getting 10 attempts at it. Pacheco had a better game, but only barely. 10 carries for 21 yards. This game's leading rusher was Patrick Mahomes, who put up nearly twice Pacheco's yardage on only 6 carries and posted the only rushing TD of the game. At least both of these running backs can take some solace in their receiving success, both catching 5 passes. Pacheco's went for 77 yards and a touchdown, while Etienne turned his into a healthy 52 yards. As for the overall receiving leader, it's none other than the garbage time hero, Brenton Strange, 10 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. So many players got on the stat sheet in this game, I almost needed to take a 3rd screenshot to capture all of the receiving stats. One notable appearance down here at the bottom of the sheet is the Jaguars' struggling star receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., who only managed 3 receptions for a whopping 12 yards. Over in the Monte Carlo sim, both of these QBs still managed to put up 200+ passing yards, with their running backs improving noticeably, though it sees Etienne taking a backseat to the rookie in terms of production. Alas, Brenton Strange has a far more pedestrian performance in this sim, averaging around 3 catches for 34 yards. The score distribution for this game is quite evenly spread out, centered around the most typical outcome, a 14-14 tie. The Monte Carlo sim does give a slight edge to the Chiefs though, as the average of all 10,000 simulated games is a 19-18 Chiefs victory. Zooming out to take a look at the standings, I forgot to do this in week 4, that's on me, but it's week 5 and we are so back, starting off with the AFC. The AFC North looks pretty much like how people would have predicted it would based on the preseason. Bengals and Ravens fighting it out atop the division, Steelers just kind of putzing around. If you see a team with only 4 games, it's because they had a bye this week. And the Browns holding down the basement. Obviously not how it actually looks in reality, but if you squint, it's close enough. Meanwhile, the AFC East is completely upside down. I really don't think there's a more succinct case for Madden's pro-Dolphins, anti-Bills bias than the fact that the Dolphins are undefeated and the Bills just barely escaped the bottom of the AFC East this week. Now, The Sims certainly didn't predict the emergence of Indiana Jones, as it has all of the AFC South below 500. The AFC West is also just kind of a jumble of noise, with everybody firmly middle of the pack. Over in the NFC, things look more normal. The North and the East both look pretty accurate, though obviously it didn't foresee the Packers losing to the Browns. It did identify that the NFC West is a strong division though, even if it is shitting on the Rams for no reason. Meanwhile, in the South, the Sim was overly high on the Falcons and Saints, who are not living up to these predictions. Do you agree with the simulations, or do you envision a different future? I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments. As a reminder, our drink for this matchup is the vibrant and complex Tropical Caribou. If you make it, please let me know what you'd think, and I'd love to hear your suggestions for what drink should be your team's representative. Stay curious, stay thirsty, and I'll see you in the next one.